So Edmont and Victor
Yeah,
follow him out into the village. What else is happening in the room with Evie? Is that scene over now?
Like, like, Jeannie is like wanting to like, what is your reasoning for this? Like, you're just afraid of him like taking more, so negotiations are over.
He wants this land. That's what he's going to try to do.
Right.
Why should I help him do it?
Well, the thing is he's already, his intentions are now to, we have now made enemies with him, and his intentions are,
He's already our enemy. He would have said he was our friend, and he would have maybe played along at being our friend until it no longer served his interest to do so, in which case he would become our enemy.
Like,
I would just like to point out...
Victor, you've left the room.
I'm in out of character. I was going to point something out, but okay.
You've left the
Like,
room.
our our goals are not to run this duchy. Our goals are to go home.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
You expect me to turn my duchy over to an usurper.
that's not what the documents said, Evie.
It was his clear intention.
And
Am I supposed to pretend that because he signs a document that he's not going to try to kill us when it serves him?
Orson stands up. I didn't read the document myself. I don't read Darkonese very well as I speak it. But I think I would have signed it. I think Ruby would have too. And then he leaves.
Oh,
yeah, I think I think everybody thinks you made a mistake here. And like it is ultimately your decision. But we're basically but it is our way to tell you when we feel like you've made a mistake. And I think you've made a mistake here, Evie.
We'll see.
I guess we'll see.
Edmont and Victor.
Yeah.
You follow Darkwood out of the
Can I
night.
intercept him in our foyer?
Sure.
Yeah.
And Edmont is going to, with his super monk movement, he's going to overtake him, stand in front of him, point to his artwork that's hanging in the foyer of the the one that he had that he put up there. Do you understand what that is up there?
I confess that I find artwork to be frivolous. Sometimes it's pretty enough. The man who painted that has a semblance of skill, I concede.
Well, I will appreciate your kind words, for I was the one who painted that. That represents what this land was to us when we first arrived. This is what we've had. This is what we had to work with.
He's examining it
If
closely.
you look out the window, you'll see what we have now.
Yes, it's
With one winter of work.
it's a real shame. He
Darkwood.
shakes his head.
Victor. As Victor catches up. Darkwood.
I'm a very busy man. I've got a lot I need to do today.
Hey, Darkwood. That document you had, you just need a Veritas signature on it, right?
He tells you the document's been destroyed. He watched as your cousin tore it to pieces in front of him.
We can write a new one. Listen, I think what you're asking for in terms of the land that you desire.
He holds his hand up. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I will not be privy to a mutiny in the land of the Duchess's lawful land. If you and your family, if you seek to betray her and offer me your signature in her stead, you're going to have to get the rest of the village good with that first. I'll have no part of it.
Edmund, do you want to give Darkwood here the land he asked for? I think it would be interesting to watch him grow his own village.
He tells the two of you that he's going to ride out there later this afternoon, and that you are free to join him if you like. So this will be about at least 2 days' journey, a day out and a day back.
checking the lunar calendar, as it were. How dangerous would that be for Edmont?
I'll leave that up to you.
I kind of want it to be a full moon. I want Edmund to go werewolf there.
Well, the thing is, if Victor goes out, then Ekon also has to go out.
Yeah.
I can go. In fact, like Jeannie comes up behind you, I guess, at some point during the conversation, and she says, "I'll go, because I can cast Lesser Restoration, unless Ekon just wants to go, but I can go. I actually do want to go."
For it.
Okay, so Ekon's staying in the village. Jeannie, Edmont, and Victor are riding out. Okay, bear with me 1 second as I move some notes around.
And just for reference, Jeannie has packed up the spell book and the machine.
Which spell book?
The only spell book we have.
Okay, so the one you found down in the catacomb.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's the only one we have. The catacomb spellbook and the schematics for the machine.
Okay.
Did Ekon not want to come with us?
No, I'm fine staying back.
Okay. I mean, we invite Ekon.
I don't think Evie's invited.
I imagine that we would.
Sure he doesn't get into too much trouble.
I would imagine that we would try and convince Evie that she screwed up and should go fix
We've
it.
all told her. We've all told her. I don't think it's not an argument. I don't think it's an argument at this point that any of us would continue, except maybe Victor.
No,
Like,
Victor wouldn't.
everybody told her how they felt, and then
Victor is at the point where he's just going to try and get Darkwood to accept a contract that doesn't have Evie's signature.
So that's what you're going to spend your time doing on this journey?
you're gonna do that in front of Jeannie.
Well, no. The idea is to get Jeannie and everybody else that listen. We know this is the right thing. If Evie doesn't want to sign it, and the rest of us are on board, that should be good enough.
No. And if you don't, and when we get like a day out, and Jeannie tells you that if you don't stop, she's not going. If you continue to do this, she is not going to cast Lesser Restoration on you.
Wow.
Victor informs Jeannie that would be a very bad idea.
What are
For
Ekon
you,
and
maybe.
Evie doing in the village for the next 2 days?
I mean, I think Ekon is just going to continue working his transcriptions right now.
Okay.
I think Evie's going to keep training Tenny.
Okay. Several of the other men of the village, who seem to be very chummy with Darkwood, ride out with you. And he says a day's hard ride. It is a hard ride. You guys are exhausted by the time you arrive. And he's found this piece of marshland, basically, south of the stream, where he's cleared out a space. He and a couple of his boys that he brought out with him spend the time basically stacking stones. And they build... Well, first of all, if you come out there with him, he puts you to work.
Oh, absolutely
locating
not.
and moving stones.
Absolutely not.
So Edmont's not working.
No.
Victor?
Victor is surveying the land.
And what about Jeannie?
Jeannie tells him that Jeannie does not have the physical strength to move rocks.
Doesn't seem like that's important to him.
She will offer any other. She'll offer her other skills, if she's got any. But the moving the rocks thing is not really her a thing that she is physically capable of. But I will.
The Duke finds other work for you to do.
Yeah, I don't mind helping.
Okay.
But the physical labor thing is and she holds up her little skinny arms. Says, "Sorry, I only have an 8 strength."
Honestly, that was kind of also my point. Is that Edmont doesn't have the back for this kind of work.
No, he could find other labor for you. Victor, as far as surveying the land, the Duke is happy to talk about the land at great length. And you get the sense that in the short time he's been out here, this past week or so, he's learned a lot about it. He knows the position of every tree and every hill. He knows where the good stone is. He knows where the wetlands are. And what they're building is essentially just a large hearth. A big fireplace with a stone chimney coming up out the top.
What are they building it for? Just as like starting a forge, or?
You asking Darkwood?
Yeah.
He tells you he's building his hall here. And when he's asked questions like that, you can tell that his patience is being tried. Like, we just sat in a meeting where I told you what's what. Why are you still asking me what's what?
In terms of the land itself, from the Victor's wandering out and surveying it, does it seem like it's, you said it's marshland, does it seem like it's,
So here's the
is he
thing.
draining it, or?
You guys have two really important natural resources on this land. The first are your silverwood trees. The second is you have veins of copper and tin inside of your borders to make use of. 550 acres is about a mile to his side. He's got basically about a square mile. And this area has a lot of marshland. It has the stream bisecting it, but it has no silverwood, and it has no ore. If he had traveled a day in any other direction, he could have laid claim to a mine. He could have laid claim to a copse of silverwood trees or a natural spring. He's chosen a place that is basically just strong earth, but doesn't have a lot of natural beauty and doesn't have a lot of exploitable resource.
Is it Victor's impression that he would have known about the ore in the silverwood trees?
I will defer what Victor's impressions might be to you as Victor's player.
Alright, so Victor thinks that given...
Putting it this way, he's had like a week and some change to talk amongst the village and stuff to find out what is what in these silverwood trees and the opportunities for mining and stuff. Like I'm sure that there are some people who have designs on those kinds of resources.
Yeah, this was a purposely chosen area not to offend Evie.
Do you think that's what it is?
I do. I think he wants land, he wants to rule, but he's trying not to be offensive to his hosts, essentially.
I feel like we should just ask him.
Yeah. If that's the case, no. Be forthright with him. Like you're not gonna. This is the kind of guy who isn't going to.
No, this was something.
Who's going to truck with people beating around the bush.
No, this is something that Victor would discuss, where Victor mentioned to Edmont and Genie. Like, I think he chose his land on purpose. And then, if we want to approach him and ask him, we can do that.
By all means, we should.
So you ask him if he chose this land in order to not cause offense.
Yeah.
And barring that, what actually was your reasoning?
Here's the problem with teenagers sitting thrones. It's very difficult, and understand I raised two boys of my own, and I've seen teenagers take power in institutions vastly more great than this, and he motions to the country around him. Evelyn doesn't know what she's doing. More dangerously, she doesn't know that she doesn't know what she's doing.
Genie laughs. She says,
"If I may confess a feeling, I've had more than one argument with Duchess Evelyn.
I'm not interested in your arguments because you don't know what you're doing either, and neither do you." And he motions to Genie and Victor. tells Victor, I judge you to be the oldest of them, and yet 21, 22, perhaps?
Oh no, a little older than that.
Old enough to lace your own breeches, sure. You've had adventures, you've fought monsters, you think yourselves worldly and experienced. And yet, when a powerful man, who you sought out specifically because he is powerful, offered generous terms of an alliance, there was not enough wisdom in the room to accept.
So,
Oh, it had nothing to do with the wisdom in the room.
Oh, I think you're
Darkwood,
wrong.
you need to understand something about our experiences over the last year. Every single person we have met, almost every single person, has tried to do us harm. And I feel like at this point that has colored my sister's responses to things. She's trying to do the right thing by the people that Jeannie's going to talk about, like, how every single time, like, Jeannie, we've tried to negotiate with whatever, then, like, we get terms, and then they throw the screwball in there. They're like, and then but, like, you must give us virgins, you must do this and that, and
as you're describing this, make me an insight check, all three of you.
The 20.
20?
25.
It's not.
Edmont and Victor. Jeannie started this with, listen, this is what you have to understand. And then she immediately proceeds to list a lot of things that it's very clear Darkwood already understands. But he's listening patiently to the stories about these negotiations that have gone sour, etc.
I mean, the negotiations didn't really go sour.
Just
Like, it's just, like, we have come into contact constantly with people with ill intentions. And I think you had...
That has certainly colored her judgment.
And you had my sister all the way 100% until you said, and then if I want more, I'll just take it.
I will. It's not a threat, it's not an insult, merely a statement of facts. In fact, and he motions to the beautiful stone hearth that he and his 2 or 3 lads that he brought out has built. It's already begun.
Because what that sounds like your intention is, and I guess you strike me as the man, a man who would just, like, play it straight. Like, the intention that sets to our ears is that, yes, you'll sign this document, but then in a year, the document is null and void, and you're going to do something.
That's true of every document ever signed.
Exactly. These agreements, they depend on trust, and my cousin does not trust you.
Does your cousin
You
trust
have not earned the trust yet.
At this point...
Very well. He agrees. He thinks that's an accurate description of what happened.
Do you know why? Do you know how you came into our company?
I have theories.
Edmont lays it all out for him right there. He'll say that his prison was the possession of one of the other lords of another region, this Barovia, etc., and so forth. And yeah, and he'll lay out what Strahd's designs were on him, and say, "Look, this is what happened," and none of us were inclined at all to use you for that purpose. We thought that we might seek you out as an ally. And Edmont is trying to approach it from things like, nobody's told him this yet because one, I don't think an opportunity has presented itself to tell him about that, and two, that I'm pretty sure that Evelyn would have wanted to keep that under her hat.
Mm-hmm.
And he listens to the story. He's very interested in it. But
Jeannie, during the when the conversation ends, she will also pull out the schematics and show him, and then describe what she'll admit that the schematics are redacted, but from what she can tell, this is what the device does.
And he takes your word for it.
We could tell you are, and here's the thing, is you are a man. You are not an object to be bartered or used in any sort of thing. And that's a conviction that at least I personally hold. So I would not have trucked with anybody who would have wanted to go along with Lord Strahd's designs.
If you don't see men as objects to be bartered with and used, then you would make no better a ruler than your cousin does. Men are absolutely objects to be bartered and used. That's what men are for. No man builds a castle alone.
So you're saying my sister would make a good ruler, then?
Are you saying that if you had been given the same opportunity that Strahd had given us, you would have done this? You would have done as he intended?
I'm saying that my intent is to build a hall and puts this land to good use for my purposes.
What are your purposes?
Haven't decided yet. What difference does it make? It's my land. I'll do with it what I like.
You just want to rule something, don't you? That's all you want. You're so simple.
You
I
just
want
think
to
of
be in
myself
charge.
as a simple man. The problem is, people of noble blood see complex attitudes where there are none. I laid everything out in the plainest language I could muster in Darkanese, and was told that I was not trusted and was turned away. Very well. And he points over to his hearth. Here's the beginnings of my hall. Tear it down if you like.
I feel like if you had approached my sister 6 months ago, she wouldn't have done that.
Do any of you make any attempt to stop Darkwood from building?
I feel like at this point we're just gonna I'll ask him outright. If we can convince our sister this is a good idea, and to trust you, what would your response be? Is that bridge burnt, or is it just merely? I ask him, is that bridge burnt?
He thinks about it for a moment.
Because I do think that it's like, and also I ask him outright, is his intention to I'll tell him our intention is to we have I explain our goals to him. Our goals are to build a place for our family and get out of the mists. That's what we're doing. We want to get out of these lands. We want to go home. But barring that our goal is to build a place for our family.
Here's the terms. After all of you have made your case to Darkwood, if you're going to go back to Evie with new terms, he says the ones he'll agree to are the ones that he wrote, except she will have 1 part in 10 of his incomes.
Honestly, that's fine with me.
Victor doesn't care. Richard's fine with that.
Because Duke Darkwood, do you
never addresses him as Duke, just for the record. He only refers to his name Darkwood.
I mean, he claims he's a duke, and that's something that to be
Duke of lands that are nowhere here.
Doesn't
he's Duke of he's Duke of where he's building.
It's not he's not Duke of where he's building. He's Duke of where he came from. And I'll ask Duke if he had the chance to leave, would he go back?
He hasn't decided yet. Whenever you ask him about his intentions or his plans, he hasn't decided yet.
Well,
All he knows right now is he wants a piece of land to build on, and he's going to take it whether Veritas likes it or not. So he's giving you terms you can take back to Evie if you like.
Victor is fine with taking the terms back. Victor fully supports him building the land that he wants. Like, Victor is on his side. He's just trying to make him understand that the way he approached Evie was not the most constructive method.
And he sticks to his guns. If she thought that method was not constructive, then she's not fit to be ruler. A lot of people are going to walk into her office with a lot of documents.
That you literally walked up, and I'll point out to her, you literally walked up to her and said, "You're doing a bad job. Make me leader."
She is doing a bad job, and he should be leader. That's his opinion. He just not. You're not bristling him at all. He's just. That's how he sees things, and he's going to say it like he sees it.
No. What if somebody walked up to you and said, "You're doing a bad job. Make me leader"?
Men have tried, and they were wrong.
But you would secede that if someone proved to you that you were doing a bad
And
job.
yet you were the man who was locked in a prison.
I guess that's probably... Is that how you ended up in the jail? Somebody walked up to you and proved you right?
He wants to know how you ended up in jail.
Well, we were escaping... We told him how we ended up here. Like, we were escaping from the bombardment and destruction of a city, and we sailed into some mists.
So you were a bad leader before the mists as well. Like,
we weren't in...
We were leaders before the
We were in charge of the city.
The argument that you're not fit to be leader because you got locked up in this jail does not sit well with him, because you all are also locked up in this metaphysical jail. But those are the terms after the discussion that night.
I want to point out that you said, "Oh, don't worry, Darkwood's not going to be an antagonist."
He didn't account for Evie, though.
Is that what I said? He's not going to be an antagonist?
That's exactly what you said. He's going to be your ally. Don't worry. He's not.
He offered to be your ally.
He did. Like, I'm on Brick's side here. He made a valiant, good faith effort.
And best of all, you can go forward calling Duke Darkwood your steadfast ally. Those were his exact words. I haven't written down.
Uh-huh.
Ekon.
Yeah.
There are some mutterings in the village after your siblings and cousins ride out with Darkwood. So the party of about 7 people left the village. Presumably they'll be back in a couple of days. Over the course of going around your... going through the motions of the village, going through your rounds the next couple of days, you start hearing mutterings in town of a new god people are asking questions about. Apparently, Darkwood was pressed in a tavern one night about whether he follows the light of air. And he was well in his cups and a little looser with his lips than he otherwise might have been. And some of the small folk have heard the name of his god, Heimdall. And people are now starting to bring some of these questions to you. Who is Heimdall? Is Heimdall Air's enemy? Are there other gods besides Air? They don't have any details on who Heimdall is or what he might do, other than Darkwood has said the name, and people generally like Darkwood in the village.
So I don't actually know, like, what are the Aetherine tenets around the existence and powers of other gods.
There really aren't any, because it's been a monotheistic civilization for thousands of years.
Okay.
That said, we did have that book about all the other gods. Remember
there are like ancient mythologies where people would worship unseelie spirits and things.
But we got a book from Aslan about other religions and stuff, faith magic and such.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Ekon in that case would probably just tell people that he's a different power than Air, and that he is yet to be seen whether he is an enemy or an ally, though Air does not take either lightly.
Okay. That elicits some uncertainty amongst the people. The idea that there is another god that is potentially Air's enemy. Like, what would happen if they were to fight? What do you tell them?
That's
Is
a
is
war
air
between
certain to
gods is
prevail?
not something that it would be a metaphysical. I mean, he kind of just goes off like that would be a metaphysical matter, not actually, fit for human comprehension. Like you wouldn't even be able to understand what you were seeing if that were to happen.
And it wouldn't surprise you to learn that they find that answer unsatisfying.
Right.
So, you didn't say, yes, air would prevail, which is what they wanted to hear. Checking through some of the religious texts that you brought from Aslan, you don't see this particular god mentioned at all. You don't know anything about them except for the name, Heimdall. And otherwise, in your own conversations with Darkwood, he is not given any propensity towards belief in any sort of god. Two days later, Darkwood and his party return.
I do have a question. One more question for Darkwood.
Mhm.
He talked about I'm assuming he was describing like mechanist and all that. Genie is actually going to ask him how one would get to such locations.
Find a door and walk through it. Same way you get to
door.
any location.
Are these like special doors? Like Genie is like legitimately like starry-eyed when she's asking him these questions.
It sounds like information I might share with an ally. Is about as much of a response you get from him. But now he knows that you want something from him.
Right.
Good job.
Well, Genie just wants to know everything, so.
Mm-hmm. I'll leave it up to you to decide how much of Darkwood you actually believe and how much is just swagger. But he's definitely being coy about information that you want that he's certain he has.
I mean, it's not so much it is a want, but it's not a need, and Genie recognizes the difference.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
She recognizes the difference.
Engine.
She doesn't believe the difference.
She recognizes the difference. There is a difference between recognition and ignoring the recognition. If that makes sense. Like she recognizes it's a want, not a need, but that isn't going to stop her. If that makes sense.
She's like a psychopath. She knows it's bad, but she's going to do it anyway.
So it becomes clear that Darkwood is going to spend a couple of days marshaling some more supplies and then taking them back out to where he's built the stone hearth. What's next with you guys?
I guess we're going to talk to Evie.
Yeah.
So,
Try to make her see the error of her ways.
Saul, this is Jeannie's argument. All right? She feels like you've lost the lead somewhere. Like, our goal is not to necessarily build this location. Our goal is to go home. Like, our goal is not to be in charge of a duchy, if that makes sense. We don't want to be here.
Yeah, Victor hates the fact that we've basically settled down here. It's counter to everything he wants.
So let me because that's a very interesting question. What's Edmont and Ekon's feeling about that? On having settled this duchy versus finding a way home? What's the priority for you two?
I mean, we do now have a defensible situation where we can reasonably defend this place. Edmont is very much of the opinion.
Going home.
Yeah, Edmont is like, okay, now we can start looking into finding a way home.
So then, settling this village is kind of the means to an end. Like, you now have a baseline from which you can start searching for the way out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Victor's argument against that is, yes, but now we're anchored to this village. How far away can we truly go before we start thinking that it's undefended and, oh no, what happens if someone attacks it while we're gone? it's going to hamper our ability to find the way home.
So there is a conflict between growing the village versus adventuring and looking for a door out.
Yep.
Here's what Evie says.
Mhm.
She says, go home to what? To being Ruby's slave? To marrying a man who doesn't love me?
Go
back
home to a
being
world
nothing?
where
Let her talk.
we want.
This land is mine. It is the only thing that will ever be mine. And now you are asking me to essentially just turn it over to someone else.
No, Evie, we want to go home to a world that doesn't suck.
The world we came from sucked.
Not like this. They tried to eat Denny.
And in our world, men threw shooting stars from the sky onto innocent people because we worship the same god a little differently than they do.
At least it wasn't cannibalism.
Do you not want to know what happened to the rest of the family?
Of course I do, but
Like, we can't figure. Like, what if they're in trouble and they need our help? I quite honestly have been operating under the assumption until now that that was your number one priority. Get back to the family so we could help.
You've given up, Evie. Maybe Dukewood was right.
no.
Dukewood.
Dukewood, that's really good. I like that. Yeah. Seeing all of you safely back home is and always will be my number one priority. But
You could have fooled me.
to ask me to give up and kneel to an usurper is an indignity that even I will not abide.
Nobody asked you to kneel to anyone. He made good terms.
No, he made threats.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with her on that. I personally think we should have just negotiated a different piece of land. Other than that, I think it was fine. We should have chosen the land, and other than that, I would have agreed with it.
Well, despite your protestations, he's doing what he said he would do. The question is, are you going to stop her, Duchess? Or are you going to abdicate?
Yeah, are we going to war with this man? Like, are we going out there to kill him right now?
I'm not.
Because that's the only way you're going to stop him. If you march out there, I'll march with you, but
Genie's ride or die.
Have fun in the castle.
Jeannie's ride or die her sister, yeah.
Truth of the matter is, I can't defeat this man, can I?
Have you not seen the way the villagers look to him? No, you can't. If he builds another town without your permission, we're going to be ruling over nothing. Which, for the record, is fine. I would rather find a way home.
I mean, we have the house. What does it matter?
What would you have me give this man?
I mean, we'll tell him, like, we've already told you the terms that I assume. Like, he said that he would just lower the stuff.
A tithe. Or not
Quite
tithe,
honest, yeah, the tithe. Quite honestly,
Then we have an enemy now or an enemy later?
I'd rather have, yeah, I'd rather have the enemy later, to be honest.
So, Evie,
Mm-hmm.
if there were a door that went back to Brennanine, and the only way you could open it was to burn down the village, would you open it?
I don't think Evie would. Maybe the others would. But, I mean, Evie's the Duchess of this place. She feels an obligation to her people.
Okay. If there were a door that went back to Brennanine, but your life there was as you've described it, servitude, underneath Ruby, marry a man that she chose, to have children that you don't want, or you have the opportunity to stay here and build this place to whatever you wanted it to be, to the best of your ability, what would Evie choose at this exact moment?
Choose only for herself, not for the others?
Yeah, for yourself. Well, whatever considerations you want to think of. I'm not going to tell Evie what she's thinking.
I don't think Evie knows the answer to that question right now.
Roll a d20.
I got a 6.
Okay.
This is not going to be good.
You have the conversation with your cousins, your sibling.
Mm-hmm.
And you stand alone in this idea that you should deny Darkwood what he's asked for. Opinions from the rest of them range from you should have just signed the thing down to, well, we don't want to fight him and we can't win anyway. But as you're thinking about it, you find yourself more and more thinking wistfully about what this place could be. You're picturing stone walls around the village. You're picturing expanding the manor into a keep. You're picturing amassing more and more magical artifacts that you take out of ruins and bringing them together, consolidating your power. And the more you think about it, the more you realize you can never, ever have that back home. If there even is a home left, all of Brennany might be ruined. Your whole family might be dead. You might be going back to a life of being rebels and peasants at best. Whereas here, and you feel the tug of the dark powers on you.
But here, what am I? Am I a duchess when my own kin would side with an usurper over me?
Darkwood is planning a hunt. He's noticed that there are excellent boar to be had in the woods that are becoming more and more active now as spring advances. And all who would partake of his spoils is welcome to join him. And one of the men who agrees to be in his hunting party is Orson with his spear.
Did Evie did Evie sign? No, that was a no.
She didn't
haven't
sign
signed anything yet.
Okay, I was just making sure that was a no.
Mm-hmm.
So now Darkwood's going to go take your boar.
Well, these are the plans. You're hearing that he's planning this hunt. He's going to share the spoils with whoever joins him.
And Orson is going with him as opposed to staying with us.
You probably heard this news from Orson. Orson hasn't been hunting in a recreational capacity in a very long time. This is probably something he used to do as a child in North Warren, and he's actually very eager to see how Darkwood goes about it. Orson's an accomplished hunter himself, so this is something he's just very interested in. But he also get the sense that he just likes the Duke. A lot of people do.
Yeah. He's a likable guy.
Evie, it is within your rights to put a stop to this. This is your boar.
Orson has rights to hunt my boar. I propose that it be Orson's hunt. He can take whoever he likes with him.
You tell that to Orson?
Yeah.
Orson's probably just going to be like, yeah, okay, sure.
Orson's not sure that he understands the distinction. A group of men are going out into the woods to hunt boar.
Are they going with Rowan Darkwood, or are they going with Orson Veritas?
They're going with Rowan Darkwood.
No, but I asked him that.
No, yeah, he's going with Darkwood. Darkwood proposed this hunt. He has already done some scouting. He knows the land that he wants to go to. He's probably identified the animal he wants to take.
We've already, so I will point out, to Evie that we've already said that people could basically, we haven't. Our stance up until now was you could go out and hunt as long as you didn't kill the wolves.
That Darkwood was told specifically don't hunt wolves, and he didn't understand why anybody would want to hunt a wolf anyway.
Right.
So
And then,
as far as he knows, he's operating legally at the moment.
Right. So he's operating legally, and Jeannie will look at you very oddly and be like, "Are you just going to change the laws out from under him all of a sudden a week before this out?"
When did I say I was going to do that?
You had a look in your eye.
Are you feeling okay, Jeannie?
Are you?
I'm not sure. Does anyone else want to go hunting with him?
That's
Yeah, he's got a small party of men from the village.
I mean, among our group.
I can
Victor will go just for curiosity, even though he's not really a hunter.
I see this as an attempt to poach my people out from under me to come serve him.
I'll go with Victor, since unless Destil wants to. I don't know if Destil wants to go out hunting.
Not particularly.
Yeah, one of us has to go with Victor. So one of us has to go.
Come on, Jeannie, it's cousin bonding.
Cousin bonding.
We're gonna bond. We're gonna resolve our differences.
Tenny also asks for leave to go.
I don't know if Tenny's ready for that yet.
Victor tells Tenny that she's welcome to come.
Just Tenny. Jeannie asks her, does she have the capability to fire a crossbow or a bow or anything to attend a hunt?
I mean, she's almost 11 years old, and she loves the woods. She goes out to the woods as much as she can. But no, she doesn't have... she probably hasn't been on many formal hunts in her life, but it's not something that would be uncommon for a girl where you come from.
Right, and I'll ask her if she prefers if she wants a short bow or a light crossbow.
Victor will explain to her what the purpose of the hunt is, and that they're actually going to kill animals, and he wants to make sure she's not going to get upset when she sees that happen.
Excuse me, please do not patronize my little sister.
Listen, you know how Tenny is.
Tenny's like, yeah, that's what a hunt is.
Okay.
Stupid.
If Tenny wants to go, Evie will also go.
There's this weird like sync moment between Tenny and Jeannie where they both think you're just stupid.
Listen, he's seen what Tenny does with rabbits, okay? She doesn't want them killed.
They were her rabbits. These are not her.
So everybody wants to go on this hunt, but not Ekon.
Yeah, Ekon will stay back and keep the place running.
The evening before, so he's planning to leave very early in the morning, and the hunting party is a good dozen people strong at this point. The Duke pays you a short call.
Who specifically?
Ekon.
Okay.
I'm going to confide something in you, in the spirit of charitable brotherhood.
Ekon will nod.
I do not know your god. Your god has done nothing for me in my life, and my life has been long and considerable. And I've walked the halls of gods. I knew one once, a long time ago. I seek his counsel again. It's why I'm going out into the woods. It's why I'm going to hunt. I don't know what this will mean for you and your church or your faith, but it may be something that you want to bear witness to.
All right, I guess I can go along in a spiritual advisory manner. Thank you for the opportunity, by the way.
How many people are actually... So all 6 of you...
Tenny
is coming.
And I think that's it for our family, but that's basically everybody.
Yeah.
But then he also has a party of 5 or 6 young men from the village. which of you are actually going to participate in the hunt itself? Or how many of you are just...
Edmont will.
Edmont will?
Yep.
Victor will.
Jeannie will, I guess.
Do any of the three of you know what you're doing?
I mean, I don't. I can shoot. Oh, I can shoot things.
Okay.
Victor knows how to kill things. From a distance, sneakily, so...
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's just supervising Tenny.
I feel like I feel like Jeannie would be like. Actually, I feel like Jeannie wouldn't do it. I feel like she would go and be excited to go until somebody told her she couldn't shoot magic at the. Like it's generally frowned upon to set the game on fire.
Oh no, Darkwood wants the hide intact.
Right, so she would be like, okay, well, I'll just watch from the sidelines then. She's a little disappointed.
Victor makes a suggestion that he should be the one to kill it because he won't leave any marks.
If you want to attempt to bring down the boar with Darkwood, make me a survival check.
Let me see how bad my
Make one for
survival is.
Orson, because he's definitely going to be involved. In fact, Orson uses a spear as his primary weapon, so he's very proficient in the correct weapon for the task.
That's a 19 on die for Orson's plus his.
That's a 12 for Victor.
A 22 for Orson.
22 for Orson. And then I have to roll for some NPCs. Okay. There are some chances as well to distinguish yourself upon small game as you head out into the woods. And it's not an unpleasant excursion. In a lot of ways, it reminds you of the kind of outings that you might have been familiar with back in North Warren. Seeing the country in the full bloom of spring it almost looks like a different world than it did as summer was waning when you arrived last year. Oh, I guess I didn't roll for Darkwood against the boar.
Roll a 1.
I did that with Factal Reese in an adventure, and she ended up spending an entire encounter as a sheep. I've been waiting 20 years to put Reese into an adventure like that, and that's what happened. So Victor and Orson and a couple of the lads and Darkwood himself, you guys spend a day tracking this particular boar back to its burrow. And they corner it, and between the 5 of them, Victor, nobody's sure how much you actually helped. You and your 12. Yeah. Orson is the MVP. And Orson and Darkwood bring down this boar, and there's much celebration amongst the men. And Darkwood begins skinning the thing and directs Orson to begin butchering it, and it falls to him to decide who gets which piece of meat, essentially, for their part in the hunt. This is a distinguishment that Orson has earned basically by rolling the highest. Orson asks for your guys' advice. He was not expecting to be given this task. He was more expecting, like, we're going to butcher this boar and then we're all just going to eat it together.
I mean, Jeannie will tell him just give it to the person he likes the most. And then work your way down.
Give it to Tenny.
He hates that idea. The idea of starting with the person he likes most and working his way down.
Victor says give the first piece to Tenny.
That's a good idea.
That's fair. So yeah, he gives the choicest piece to Tenny.
Yeah, it's his little sister, so yeah.
And she didn't help hunting the boar. You guys, I'm assuming you guys are not going to let your 11-year-old sister
not hunt a boar. No, that is how you die.
Victor would have.
We probably went out with her as she hunted small game.
Mm-hmm.
Like birds or foxes, not a boar. A boar can kill you.
The boar also has a small litter, it being the beginning of springtime. So there is suckling pig to be had. Very, very tender. Also ethically questionable.
So we're killing more babies? Okay.
Yeah, they're pig babies, though.
That's not anything sapient.
After Darkwood, as he's skinning the thing, as Orson is butchering and preparing the boar, you start hearing chopping sounds. Darkwood is now chopping this giant stump and breaking it up that was nearby.
You gonna build a fire, are you, Darkwood?
Well, there's already a fire going because you guys are cooking this freshly butchered boar.
Victor will ask if he plans to build another fire, or just to make this one bigger.
He says, no, this fire is for me. He has 2 twists of heavy rope looped into heavy metal hooks that he gouges either side of this big log with. And then he hefts the thing up onto his shoulders, tests it back and forward for weight, makes some adjustments. Victor, looking at this log, you would think that Edmont and Orson together would be able to carry this big log. If it was bound for firewood, you would have to bust it up more than this. But it's gigantic, and you can see him strain under the weight of it. And he makes some adjustments and fixes the hooks into some other places. This is a task he's busying himself with while everyone else is cooking and eating and making merry.
Victor will offer help.
And he denies you. Says, I would accept if I could, but I cannot.
Does this have to do something with this Heimdall, of which we've heard rumblings about in town?
Edmont, he looks angrily at you. Where do you hear that name?
The small folk.
My fault, no doubt. I meant no offense. He turns back to the task at hand.
Victor will just shrug and watch him.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on him.
Okay. And
Victor's
Orson
watching
divvies
Victor
up the meat more or less equally, more or less what he'd be accustomed to at home. And just about the time you think you're going to be turning in for the night, camping out here, Darkwood takes a flaming stick out of the cook fire and sets it to the log that he's prepared. The top of it begins to smolder. At that, he lifts it up onto his back again, this now burning log. I march to my hall. Those who would defend the march may come with me and observe. And he immediately turns and begins stomping off very slowly under the weight of his burning log in the direction of the stone hearth he built.
Victor looks back at the party and says, I ain't missing this one.
All right. I guess I'll go too.
I mark the man mad, but
That's exactly why I'm going.
Ekon, make me a religion check.
That would be a religion of 15.
There is no way to tell for sure the specifics, but you are certain this is a ceremony of some religious importance. Something about this log and this march. So your options now are to stay here and make camp for the night, or to march with the madman out into the wilderness. Is anyone staying?
Evie will follow, but she's not going to march. She's not interested in, like, being part of this ritual to his god.
Okay.
Victor will casually mention to Edmont that he hopes his god doesn't demand virgins.
Well, the question is anybody staying behind at camp?
I guess Orson can stay with Tinny.
Orson's
Well, Tinny
definitely
can-
not staying.
Penny
Okay.
can come with us, can't she?
Yeah, if you want. It's up to you.
All right.
Yeah, I would prefer Penny stay with us.
You could also leave her at camp in the care of he's out here. The unnamed NPCs he's brought are your peasants. If you tell them stay here and watch Tenny, they'll do that.
Depends. Does Tenny want to come or does she want to stay?
She's very tired, but she insists she wants to go.
You're not going to fall asleep on the way, are you?
She insists that she won't, but she's also yawning a lot.
Maybe she should stay here then.
Yeah.
You gotta how far away is the march?
Hours, all night,
Yeah.
probably.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not going to make this.
Yeah,
Tenny, I'm
no.
sorry.
Sorry, kid.
You can be mad at us later.
So the six
go
of you
get
are marching with him, and you've told the other few hunters to stay behind with Tenny, and then head home to the village in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where we'll take our break. We'll come back in about 15 minutes. Go ahead and get your coffee, get your bagel. Let's reconvene at about 4:25.